It is my pleasure now to welcome on someone who is described as one of the most electric players in women's cricket for both on and off-field reasons. Molly Strano. Molly, how are you today?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to have a chat, so looking forward to it.
Absolutely no pressure in the world. I'm very excited for this chat, and I think a lot of people will really, really enjoy this. I think first up, we will touch on the fact that you were just in Canberra playing for Australia A. Player of the match for the first one, which is always a nice way to start, and helped Australia A beat England another 3 times to continue their miserable summer. How was that whole experience for yourself?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's always an honour and a privilege to wear the green and gold. I sort of missed the first 3 games. There was meant to be a T20 segment as well, which the girls won 3-zip as well. But I had COVID and I was isolating at that point. So I joined up with the group a little bit later in Canberra and partook in the ODI league, which was really good. It was a bit of a mix, our team. There was some older stalwarts, such as myself and Elise Villani. And there were some really good younger players in our team as well, like Phoebe Litchfield and Georgia Vole. So it was good to meet some of the young and upcoming talent in Australian cricket, which is the future for the Australian women's cricket team, super bright because these young girls are awesome that are coming through the system at the moment. But yeah, it was good to go 3-0 up in the ODI league. And I tell you what, touring these days is pretty boring because with all the COVID protocols and all the restrictions placed on us, we weren't able to do too much. And being in Canberra as well, there's not much to do in Canberra either. So so it was pretty quiet tour off the field, but on the field we played really well. And as I said, it was pretty enjoyable to be a part of it and be quite dominant as a team. So yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah. Does that mean that England didn't win a single game, men's and women's, for the entire summer?
Yeah, I saw a stat the other day, combined between the Australian men's and women's team and the Australia A women's and Australia A men. I think we went 14-0 up across the board. So yeah, pretty lean summer for the English over here on Aussie soil. So yeah, it was quite a dominant summer for the men's and the women's team. So yeah, a good result if you ask me.
Great result. I'm not the biggest fan of English people, English cricket, just England in general, actually. But that's not something we need to get into. You mentioned Phoebe Litchfield there as someone I really wanted to ask a question on. I think she's 18, but is she not going to be like the next big thing in women's cricket? She just is an absolute freak.
Oh my God, she's phenomenal for an 18-year-old. Like her skill set is unbelievable and she's only going to get better. So she'll have a long and decorated career for Australia. It won't be long until she forges her way into that team, I don't think, because yeah, when you've got the skill set that she possesses, it's not most people watch her play and she's one of those players that you're like, yeah, this kid's going to play for Australia. Like she's that good. So yeah, I'm excited to watch her career unfold. And as I said, it'll be exciting to watch her for probably a good decade playing the green and gold for the Australian team. But yeah, it was a real buzz to be able to play with her and watch her go about her business because yeah, she's a young star.
So you're obviously in Tasmania now, but that's a long way away from sort of where you started. So we'll go back to sort of when you fell in love with the game and when you got into it. What was it that, originally made you fall in love with it, and when did you get started?
That's a good question, actually. I'm probably more down a non-traditional path in regards to my introduction to cricket. The general rule of thumb is like for the most of the people that I play with come from like a cricketing mad family, or a mum or a dad or a brother or sister that was crazy into cricket, and they sort of passed down through the family the love of cricket. But my family, non-traditional cricketing family. Dad's Italian, mum was a dancer, self-proclaimed professional dancer, which I think is a load of crap.
I'm one of those at 3 a.m. on a Saturday night.
Aren't we all? Yeah. So yeah, not from a cricketing family, but my prep teacher was cricketing mad, and I was a bit of an energetic preppy, and she spoke to my parents and goes, Molly probably needs to enlist in some weekend sport because she's got too much energy and she needs to burn some of that on the weekend. So my mum took me down to Mrs. Kirby, my prep teacher's cricket club. And ever since then, I sort of fell in love with the sport and played Milo cricket early days, and then graduated into junior cricket and then into senior women's cricket. So it was all happened pretty quickly. But yeah, I sort of love it at first sight, really. As soon as I picked up a bat and a ball, I loved it. And I loved like sort of the camaraderie and the mateship that comes with cricket. And yeah, as I said, thanks to Miss Kirby. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be playing cricket or where I am today. So shout out to good old Miss Kirby.
Yeah, shout out to Miss Kirby. I know she's a big fan of the show, so that's
Huge fan, yeah.
full circle. What age did you first start playing like just all women's cricket?
I was sort of juggling both. When I was like 15, 16, I was playing junior boys and senior women's. And I reckon it wasn't until I was about 17 when I just started to play women's cricket solely and gave up the boys stuff. So yeah, there was a bit of a transitioning period where I was playing both, which my parents loved because they had to drive me to junior cricket in the morning and then women's cricket in the afternoon. So they were rapt about that. So yeah, probably when I was 17 was when I made the full transition to just playing women's cricket.
Yeah, what was the and I asked this because I played with a girl named Kate Christoph in under 14s who played for the Victorian women's team in that age group at that time, and she used to shit talk so much when you played against the boys, and obviously we're dominating them. Were you a bit chirpy, or were you sort of just let the bowling do the talking?
Oh, good question. It's not natural for me to be a shit talker, but if someone rolls me up, then I'm more than happy to partake in the festivities when it comes to chirping people. So if any of the boys rolled me up, I used to, I didn't take a back seat. I used to bite back, but the boys were actually really good with me. I never really copped too much. And the boys that I played with were awesome. They're all like brothers, really. So I had some really good experiences playing with the boys. I've heard some girls have some pretty horrible experiences actually copping it left, right and centre. But I didn't cop too much grief from the opposition. But every now and then when they did, I definitely, as I said, didn't take a back seat. I like to chirp back and hopefully had the last laugh and let my skills do the talking. But I didn't cop too much. But when I didn't mind having a little bite.
I always find it interesting in that circumstance to know that, especially someone of your sort of talent who's obviously going to be better than, kids like me at 14 and 13, like I'd be having a good chin wag.
It is fascinating, the old chirping conundrum in cricket, because some people it really like rolls them up and makes them play better cricket, and some people it makes them go in the Swede and then they lose their shit. So like over my years of playing first class cricket, I sort of know which players you don't say boo to and some players which you can say a little bit to, because it gets in, as I said, they go on the Swede a little bit when you get in their ear. So it's funny how the shit talk can inspire people to play better cricket, or it can be the detriment to some people as well.
Yeah. Who's one person now who you could say
I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, who's one person where you'd be like, I can't say a single thing to her?
Former teammate of mine at Melbourne Renegades, and now she's opposition, is Jess Duffin. Dual athlete, also plays for North Melbourne in AFLW. I would advise anyone coming up against Jess Duffin not to say boo, because anytime you say anything to her, she's a dog with a bone. She will take it to her grave and she will ground you into the dirt and make sure she absolutely dominates you. So now that I play for the Hurricanes and Soggy plays for the Renegades, I don't even want to look at her when I play. I just don't even want to give her eye contact. So, and she's a good friend of mine as well, bridesmaid in her wedding. So obviously we have a long history as in regards to being mates, but she's definitely one that I would not chirp off on the cricket field, that's for sure.
And a nickname, which I believe you said was Soggy.
Yeah, nickname Soggy.
I'm not going to touch that one. That's fine. I won't ask about that one. But
yeah, just let it through to the keeper, that one.
Yeah, that's fine. Like most of my jokes. At what age did you sort of realize that your cricket was going to be sort of a lot more than you running around exerting some energy in the weekends, and you're like, I'm actually really good at this shit?
Well, the penny probably didn't drop for me till I was a little bit older. I just sort of, cricket was just a bit of a hobby and something that I enjoyed, and I took it seriously and all that sort of jazz. But as a 17, 18, 19-year-old, I definitely enjoyed the finer side to life, and I was enjoying turning 18 and experiencing this whole new world in regards to the nightlife. So it was probably not until my early 20s where I really sort of knuckled down and tried to make a fist of it, the whole cricket thing, and had to do a few bits and pieces, had to get a bit fit and as I said, take it a little bit more seriously. So it wasn't until I was probably like 20, 21 where I sort of thought I could sort of really forge out a half decent career if I started taking it a little bit more seriously. So yeah, probably around those sort of years was when I said the took a while for the penny to drop and for me to get my shit together, essentially. So yeah.
Let's sidetrack back to 18-year-old Molly. It's a Saturday night. Where are you heading, and what atrocious outfit are you wearing? And don't worry, I will share mine. So don't feel embarrassed by anything, because I guarantee you I might probably win.
Probably 18, tender age of 18. I'm going to my local nightclub. I grew up in Werribee, so I would have been going to Mynt Lounge. I would have been drinking.
You win already.
I do win. I already know I'm going to win this. I would have been drinking some atrociously sweet vodka cruiser or Smirnoff or something like that. I would have been wearing something fluoro because that was all the rage then. And would have had like the sweeping full fringe eyeliner, the full works. And I would have swung past Hungry Jack's on the way home, and then probably would have had Macca's for breakfast. So that was my sort of diet as an 18-year-old, which if you put two and two together, it's probably not conducive to high performance or elite cricket. So I have to change my ways a little bit. But yeah, definitely very much a rat bag around those tender years of 18, 19. I'd like to hear your where you were venturing to.
I've always had the belief that my athletic career sort of died when I started working at KFC at 16, because I would come home with like 2 buckets of chicken after working and just inhale it before my mum yelled at me. So I think that and not the ability side of things is what stunted my growth or my career aspirations. But at 18, you'll find me probably going to a place called the Dirty South in South Morang, which is, honestly, I might get bashed for just saying that when people listen to this. And this outfit is an outfit that I was extremely proud of. I used to wear like a blue t-shirt, blue jeans, white socks, and these like black cloth slip-on shoes.
Oh, nice.
And I'd slip them on, and I'd look at myself in the mirror with my like long wavy hair, which had tips in it as well. And I'd just be like, I'm on tonight. And I can tell you that like at 32, I can look back now and can tell you that at no point during that time frame or any time after it have I been on. So, but I'm not too far different except for the hair now. Like if I could rock that outfit, I probably would, to be honest, but I would never go back to that venue. It's an awful, awful place.
So essentially you're saying the Colonel has blood on his hands too for taking you down. You could have been an elite athlete if it wasn't for the winking Colonel.
Yeah, I think the Colonel, Nando's, Hungry Jack's probably has a bigger role to play. He's got more blood on his hands than anyone. But yeah, I just need to blame someone, and it's very easy to blame. I can't say drugs and rock and roll because it's like a family friendly show, but yeah,
just fast food outlets in general. Then yeah,
pretty much what could have been. That's a great segue. I'm really glad we did that. So in that 18, 19, that's when you joined Victoria. It only took you a couple of years, I guess you could say, for the penny to drop before you pretty much established yourself as one of the top spinners in the country. Who was sort of massive in showing you the ropes, I guess, and sort of helping you make that transition, I guess, from not a naive, but sort of just a young cricketer has to learn to get sort of everything in order before you can really just take off?
Very, very lucky. And I still am to this day that I've had some pretty incredible mentors and role models help shape me into the person and cricketer that I am today. Kristen Beams has been a huge one for me. I played at EMP, Essendon Maribyrnong Park, my club side. She was a senior leg spinner when I first was really young and still learning the ropes at club cricket, and she really guided and mentored me in the spin bowling department. And Mel Jones is another one that's been a huge influence on me, just not only in cricket but in life in general. She's the big sister I never had, really, and she's helped me sort of navigate my way through the cricketing world and all of the curveballs that life sort of throws at me as well. So they're two probably that come to mind straight away when it comes to people that have had a huge impact on me, as I said, not only as a cricketer but as a young adult as well.
Is there someone that you're playing with now who you think is going to make a great commentator one day post-career?
Oh, good question. I think, and she's already had a dabble in the commentary stuff. I think Alyssa Healy is going to,
Yes.
if she wanted to go down that path, I think the world's her oyster. She's got a really good cricket brain, so she's able to sort of communicate with people back at home what's happening at the game and what's unfolding in the match. But then she's got this dry sense of humor and this wicked sense of humor, which sort of the girl next door sort of touch, which I reckon the Australian public would fall in love with her if she was to do it even more. So I think Midge, another one, if she's watching or listening to this podcast,
I'd hope so.
After cricket, she would.
Mitch wants to listen too. I'd be
Midge,
okay with that
jump
too.
on board the commentary circuit, mate. Yeah, Mitch probably would too. He's a good fella. He comes on tour a fair bit with the Aussie team and he's always around and up for a beer. So he's a legend. But yeah, I think Alyssa Healy would be a ripper in the commentary box.
I love seeing that they're always playing golf together. And I always wonder like how much like shit talking is actually going on, because they're obviously both extremely competitive, or even just in like a net session. Like there's obviously going to be times where he's bowling to her, they're playing golf, and it's just getting heated. Are they two people who would be like that, or are they two just calm, cool, collected, and not like me?
No, option A, they would, I reckon they would, and I know they do, they would bicker nonstop on the golf course. Very, very competitive. So, and they give it to each other. So yeah, I reckon it's definitely on for young and old when they hit the golf course, them two.
Wonderful. I'll stay away from them on the golf course. After dominating state cricket for a few years, you sort of finally made your debut for Australia against New Zealand in 2017. Take me through that whole situation from finding out you were going to play to, I guess, eventually, you know, being thrown the ball and having to bowl that first over, and sort of what was going through your mind.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a whirlwind, actually. Elise Perry had just got injured, and I sort of came in for her. So not a like for like replacement. I'd like to think so, but not.
For this episode, it is a like for like purposes.
I wish my stats in my career was as decorated as Pez's, or at least half. But anyways, can't to be. So yeah, it was all a bit of a whirlwind. I got a phone call from the selector saying that I'll be joining the squad for the first time, which was all pretty exciting. So still unsure if I was going to play. And then we had a 3 T20 series against New Zealand, and then I got the heads up that I'd be playing the first game of that series, which was at the MCG, which is my home ground. So that was even more of a buzz, because when you represent your country, and if you were to debut, you could potentially debut anywhere. Like it could be on the other side of the globe. So to be able to make my debut on the MCG in front of my friends and family was a really special day, and quite emotional, actually. I remember Kristen Beams, who was one of the people that I mentioned earlier in regards to someone that's had a huge influence on my career. She presented me with my hat, and she made a really heartfelt sort of speech, and I was in hysterics before the game. I'm crying, you know, being the emotional Italian that I am, rada. But yeah, it was all a bit of a whirlwind. It all happened pretty quickly, and we had to win that game. So that was fun, and it's always nicer winning rather than losing. So yeah, I just sort of remember having a few beers with the girls after the game, and yeah, it was just like all my childhood dreams sort of had come true in a space of 3 hours, which is the duration of a T20 match. So yeah, that was all pretty cool. And as I said, I just couldn't believe that I was playing and making my debut on the hello turf of the MCG. I'd watched so much cricket there as a kid growing up, and then having the opportunity to run out there in the green and gold was a pretty special moment for not only me, but my family and those that are close to me as well.
Your time playing for Australia overall is probably best described as incredibly wild. You know, it involves World Cups, dancing with Katy Perry, stealing shoes, taking 5 for 10 in a T20. Which one of those do you want to start on?
Well, we could start on my favorite, which is the Katy Perry saga, and
the saga.
It was an absolute saga, and a bit of a shit show. But yeah, that was. It's funny because people are like, "What's your cricketing highlight?" And I'm like, my cricketing highlight is a game that I didn't play, but the opportunity that I got to rave with Katy Perry for 3 minutes. Like that's going to be my cricketing highlight, and nothing's ever going to beat it.
Yeah, to set the scene for people who don't know, it was the Women's T20 World Cup final, which was at the MCG, and there was a big push around to make it the largest sporting event for a women's event that right?
Yep.
And I think there was 90,000 people there. Katy Perry played after, and yeah, not yours truly. Is that the right saying? Yours truly, or does that mean I'm talking about me or you?
Oh,
Well, I wasn't on
you're
stage.
talking about yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I did VCAL, which is probably pretty obvious. But at the end of the game, when Katy Perry was singing, you were straight on the stage, despite not playing, as you pointed out beforehand when we were chatting, and just having an absolute whale of a time.
Yeah, we had no idea it was happening. So like after the last board being bowled, and we'd sort of, you know, you get presented your medals and you do a lap of the oval, and I literally hugged half the MCG. This was just before COVID as well. So this was I got my last dose of hugging everybody and anyone before COVID hit. So we did a lap, and then we went down to the change rooms, and like all our friends and family are in the change rooms, and we're just having a few beers, and we're watching the Katy Perry performance like through the race. And then all of a sudden our like team manager comes up to us, and she's like, "Oh, would you guys like be interested? Like we could probably organize for you to get on stage to." And
you're gone. You know, you're just gone. I'm already hot lap. You're already on stage.
I've never run faster in my life. Didn't even respond. I just V-line for the stage.
You tear your hammy. You ran so fast. You're like, I don't care.
Yeah, I literally blew a hammy running that quick. So all of us were like, yeah, absolutely, we're going to do this. Like, when is this ever going to happen? So we all went up on the stage, and we had one, I think it was Firework, one song with Katy Perry, and like we've all had a few beers at this point, so we're all, you know, got a bit of Dutch courage, and like me and my friend Sophie were a bit outrageous on the dance floor. Like we're sort of just like taking a back seat for a good like 20 seconds, and then all it took was like us to look at each other and be like, it's go time. So like, then we run down the stage, and we're just dancing like lunatics. And yeah, I watched like the footage. I'm like, I'm so embarrassed. Like, this is like,
I can confirm. I watched it last night. It was great.
Yeah. Oh, it was so embarrassing. I was literally like dancing like my mum would dance, and I'm like, that is horrific. Like, I got some pretty good moves, I reckon, but under pressure, I didn't produce the goods. So yeah, unfortunately, it's pretty substandard dancing between Soph and I. But geez, it was fun. There was still 30,000 people in the crowd at this point too. So it's like, it was the small moment of my life where I'm like, I feel like a rock star, and I love this, but I just haven't got the talent to be able to do this on a regular basis. This is a one-off 3-minute performance, but yeah, we had so much fun, and the photos and the footage will be with us forever. But some of the photos are absolutely epic. So yeah, as I said, once in a lifetime experience. But if Katy Perry, also a fan of this podcast, is listening, if she needs a backup dancer anytime again in the near future, I'm always available for you, Katy.
Well, I believe you dressed up as one of her backup dancers. Is that true or false?
Yeah, there is a bit of truth about that. Being a Melbourne girl and doing a lot of training at the MCG as a junior, I knew where the green room was, where all the costumes would be left. So after a few brews with my brother, I'm like, Tom, come up with me to the green room. I'm going to, whatever I can find, I'm just going to put it on, go back down to the change rooms, do a little bit of a performance for the girls and the families. You know, I love being able to get a cheap laugh out of people. So I'm like, if I can put this outfit on, go back down to the change rooms, dance ridiculously again and get a few cheap laughs, I'll be happy. So then I find like, my brother and I find this like giant cricket bat that you like sort of, the backup dancers had over their head, and like the handle is like above your head. So like it was huge.
It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like I found the white boots that were matching with the cricket bat outfit. So I sort of like wandered back down into the change rooms in full cricket bat kit, which provided a bit of entertainment for the girls and their families for a little while, until I literally was like overheating.
Yeah,
like,
I need to take this off. It's been 5 hours.
And then like my handle, which is like well above my head, just getting caught on all the netting in the MCG
knocking
net.
Everything off.
Yeah, it wasn't so practical, but sometimes fashion hurts, you know. So I wore it for a couple of hours, and then I had to get rid of it because I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, that was a bit of fun. There's a few photos that I've got on my phone of that performance and that. So yeah, shout out to my brother who helped me you know, prepare and get ready for that moment, help me get that cricket bat on, and help me steal some stuff from the green room. So that was great.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely spot on. Fashion does hurt, because you kind of touched on those white boots. which I believe you spent a little while in and ended up showing up at Fed Square the next morning in really good shape with those white boots on, and made everyone's day who was there.
Yeah, look, sometimes, as again, I've touched on, my Italian heritage. I can just be a little bit too much at times. So rock up to Fed Square the next day, there's a huge crowd there to congratulate us, and it's just, we're all meant to just rock up in our travel uniform and our Cricket Australia branded kit. And I, again, just can be a little bit over the top at times. I was adamant that I was not wearing runners the whole next day. I'm wearing the boots. Like,
it's not practical.
And the team manager was like, "You sure? Like, they stand out a little bit. Like, you remember, team uniform. Did you not get the memo?" I'm like 90% the team uniform tick, just the shoes. Like, come on, let me wear them. And so I managed to get the white boots over the line. And now I look back retrospectively at pics of that morning, and I'm like, Molly, what are you thinking? You're just too much. Like, again, I didn't play. Like, I was almost one of the backroom staff, and I'm there front and center at the celebrations. Like, thanks everybody for your support. You guys have been great. Like, rada. I'm just like, Molly, too much.
I actually don't think it was enough. Like, I'm not Italian, but anyone who knows me can probably attest to this. But like, I just look to do stuff like that. Like, it's actually all I do. Like, I don't ever not want to be one of those like, "Oh, did you see the memo? We have to wear runners." I'm like, "I'm so sorry. All I've got is like boots." Like, I'd rather wear footy boots to a ceremony like that than actual runners. So I actually don't think that you actually went probably far enough.
Well, we're very similar cats then, because like, I take joy out of making myself look like a bit of an idiot, and as I said, trying to get some cheap laughs. So I thought the boots were going to provide a little bit of entertainment for the punters that were there that day. So, but then sometimes I just had moments where I'm like, Molly, come on, like, when are you ever going to grow up?
that like 24-hour period and the photos that would have come from that, you've gone from being on stage with Katy Perry to dressed up as a backup dancer to then being on stage with the white boots, in full show, and probably that team manager, PR officer at the back, just kind of looking and just kind of going like, "Can we just get through this day without any hiccups?"
I tell you what, my camera roll from the last ball of the World Cup for the next probably 4 days, there is some elite content, both photo and video content, of the celebrations and all the outfits and everything, all the festivities to come with it that came with it. So, memories to last a lifetime, and photographic evidence to support as well. So, I'll look back at those photos fondly for probably the rest of my life. And I'll be telling this Katy Perry story when I'm 60, to the grandkids, whatever. Like, I'll be definitely living this up till the day I die. And especially that World Cup medal too. Like, I prance around in it still. Like, as I said, I was a major contributor on the day. I mixed the Gatorades, but I still party like I was very, very much a key cog of that team, which I wasn't.
No, I think the best way to end that story when you tell it to people is you should say, "And then we all went back to the Mynt Lounge in Werribee with Katy Perry."
Oh God, that would be the day.
Just showed up, and her entourage just shows up to this place, which it sounds pretty grim if I'm being honest. No disrespect to the Mynt Lounge in Werribee, if that's what it's called. It does not sound like a place that a beer would be enjoyable.
And it's even, I tell you, and the spelling is even funky, MYNT. So that even it's even more shady when it's the spelling.
Oh, Struth. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there are very few places where I would probably turn down a beer. I think Werribee and the Mynt Lounge with a Y is probably close on that list. But anyway, you took 5 for 10 in a T20 international, which is absurd. Like, take us through that, please.
Oh, it was a bit of a, like, we played in Geelong. I remember it was my second game for Australia in that T20 series that I debuted. And Geelong's like my second home as well, because I went to school in Geelong and I've got a lot of mates down there. So it did have a bit of a homely feel when I played down there, and I could see all my mates in the crowd. But yeah, it was just one of those days where the ball just came out really nicely, and like sort of one of those probably once in a career days where sort of everything you touch turns to gold, and everything you do and all your plans that you set out on the day just sort of fall into place, which is so rare in cricket, where it's a sport where you fail more often than you succeed. But
I can attest to that.
Oh yeah, well yeah, I don't think I've had a good day since, to be honest. But yeah, we ended up losing the match, so like it was a bit bittersweet. Like I remember we bowled in the first innings, and we kept. I think we were playing New Zealand, and we kept them to a pretty reasonable total, but we didn't chase it down. So I remember like the big bus ride back to Melbourne, and everyone was really flat, and we're all just gutted that we lost a game that we should have won. So yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag of lollies when it comes to my emotions on that day. Because yeah, as I said, after the first innings, pretty pumped. So I feel like I bowled okay. And second game for Australia, how good's this? And then within 75 minutes, we've lost the game, and I'm gutted. So yeah, as I said, it was a bit of a funny old day, that one.
Yeah, you're on the bus and you're like sort of patting everyone on the back. You're like, it's okay, you know, like you're just overly up and about and in people's face, because you're like, you want people to know that, hey, I know we lost this, but I took the piss today, and I would like some recognition. I know we lost, but it's not my fault. That you just gently put that into people's sort of into their kitchen, so they're understanding of that.
No, I didn't. I didn't do the whole alpha female thing on the bus on the way back. I just sort of, yeah, I was just flat on the way back, to be honest. But yeah, that's cricket for you, hey? It breaks your heart all the time.
You're the only cricketer in the WBBL to take 100 wickets. Now that's an alpha female head wobble kind of an achievement. What was that feeling like when you got to the 100, or is that sort of just a nonchalant and yeah, this is just 100 wickets?
Yeah, it was well, ironically, like my 100th wicket was one of my very best mates in cricket, which was Elise Filani. I've played a bucket load of cricket with Junior, as we know and love her by in our teams that we all play for. But yeah, I've played a heap of cricket with Junior for probably the last 10 years. And when it comes to Big Bash time of year, we split and we go into different teams. So at the time I was playing for the Renegades and she was for the Stars. And she made a little joke to me the morning of the game, because we're in a hub at that point and we're all staying under the same roof. And she said something along the lines of like, I don't want you to get me out, but I wouldn't mind being your 100th. Like I wouldn't be, you know. So she sort of mozzed herself. So yeah, 100th wicket. I think we were a bit under the pump from a team perspective. So like, not the celebrations were very low key. But yeah, it's not something I really keep toll of or whatever. Like, sort of don't really play cricket for those individual milestones. I sort of play to forge really good friendships and make memories more so. But yeah, it was. But in saying that, it's how many I've played every edition of the Big Bash now. I've played 7 seasons, and to see how that that competition's evolved over those 7 seasons has been phenomenal. Like from year one to where it is now, it's just a completely different product and such a good product, and it's capturing the imagination of the Australian public, and it's got a really good following now. So I can only see it going from strength to strength. And as I said, with these young kids coming through that are incredibly talented, the program, the competition and the standard of the cricket is only going to improve each year. So yeah, it's pretty exciting where the women's game's going domestically in Australia.
You talked about some of the younger women coming through, and Alana King, staying on spinners, is one of those who is just going to be unbelievable from a spin bowling point of view. What sort of like sets her apart, in your opinion?
And Kingy's another one that I've played a lot of cricket with too, because she's originally from Victoria and has moved west. She moved to WA last year, and she's just a competitor, and she wants the ball in her hand, and that's you can't sort of coach that or train that in an athlete, like to have that killer instinct and want to have the ball in the hand in the hot moments and want to take the big wickets. So I think that's what really sets Kingy apart, her mindset and her mentality in regards to bowling her leg breaks. Like she wants the ball, she wants to be in the contest, and she wants to compete, which is, as I said, you can't coach that in a sense. So yeah, and I'm pumped for Kingy that she's going really well. as I said, I've known her since she was really young, probably since she was 14 or 15, and I've watched her come through the ranks of Victoria, and she's always been a super talent, and someone that spins the ball so hard and gets like a huge amount of turns. So it's good to see her going well, and I think she'll go really well in New Zealand in the upcoming World Cup. I think those wickets will really suit her, and I think she'll have a huge effect for Australia.
You sort of touched on the fact that, with the WBBL, the game has come so far in, since 2015 when it came in. Where do you sort of see where the game is at, I guess, from a local and a state level now? And where do you sort of think it needs to go, or it should go, or you'd like to see it go even?
Yeah, well, as a domestically contracted player at the moment, it's semi-professional, and I think the pipe dream for a lot of us at the domestic level is for it to get to a spot where we're full-time, and we're able to solely dedicate ourselves to the sport and play more games, to be honest. The Big Bash is an awesome competition, and that's full on, and that's a 14-game season, which is really cool. So we're able to play a lot of cricket, but it's sort of the 50-over cricket domestically at the moment. We've gone from 6 games to 8, so at least we're playing a little bit more longer format cricket. But would ideally like to see that to go to a full home and away sort of competition as well, our 50-over competition. So it's getting there, and we're well supported by Cricket Australia and the Australian Cricketers Association. And the game's only evolved and gone from strength to strength over the last sort of 5 years. But as I said, sort of the pipe dream is for all domestic cricketers to be full time, which is hopefully not too far away.
Sure. How does the landscape look in terms of state level tests? How many tests do the Victoria, Tassie, and all that sort of play against each other, or is that non-existent?
No, that's it's non-existent. So when I say like sort of long format, for us, our equivalent to the Sheffield Shield is our 50-over cricket. So we don't play any red ball cricket at all, which is a bit of a shame when you see, how many people were watching and tuned into the most recent test match. And with Australia, the Australian women's team playing test cricket, it would be really cool if at domestic level we had an opportunity to sort of try our hand at it as well. And would also be good for the Australian women's team to go back to state land and have that opportunity to hone their skills and practice playing longer format cricket, because we actually don't get the opportunity to do that at domestic level. So yeah, again, in the pipe dream category, it would be nice to play a few long format games for Tasmania while I'm here and in my time, but that's probably a little bit further down the track, I would imagine. Trying to get that over the line, because at the moment we're trying to sneak a few extra 50 over games in. So, but yeah, a girl can dream. Wouldn't mind being full time, and wouldn't mind pulling on the whites for Tasmania. That's the dream.
Well, we'll make note of both of those things, and the show has got great reach, so we'll push into Cricket Australia, and we'll make that happen. According to your Wikipedia page, you're considered a T20 specialist. Now, do you think if you were able to play that long form red ball cricket, that it wouldn't necessarily wouldn't be the case, or that's just, because of the fact that you talk about you only really play one day cricket?
Yeah, absolutely. At the moment, as I said, at domestic level, we play two formats, T20 and 50-over cricket. And I actually enjoy the 50-over format more so than I do the T20 format. Like, as a bowler, you get a 10-over spell, you can settle into your spells and sort of set up batters, and you just don't feel like you're getting hit, trying to get hit for 6 every ball, which is the case in T20 cricket most of the time. But I've had the opportunity at Oz A level to play some long format cricket. I reckon I've played maybe 3 games of longer format cricket, and I absolutely love it. And it's cricket in its purest form. And I remember growing up as a kid and, watching the Boxing Day test and being glued to that for 5 days. So I've always had dreams and aspirations to play long format cricket, but we've just never really sort of had the opportunity to throw a hand at it. So, and I think there's a lot of girls that are sort of in the similar boat as I am, watching a lot of test cricket as a young kid, and our summers being based around watching the Australian men's test team. It would be really cool if the public had the opportunity to do the same with the Australian women's cricket team, to watch them play a few test matches each summer and inspire the next generation of young females to also want to, pull on the whites and wear the baggy green for the Australian women's cricket team.
Especially going on the fact that how many people were watching that test against England. How big is that for the women's game in terms of you talking about inspiring that next generation? Is making the World Cup, free to air essentially?
Oh, it's super important. When I was growing up, I didn't really know there was an Australian women's cricket team because it wasn't visible. So for young kids growing up, like they can't be what they can't see in a sense. So the more that not only domestic cricket but international cricket from a women's perspective is on free to air platforms, the more reach it can have and the more people it can inspire. So yeah, I feel like the boundaries are limitless here in regards to the women's game and its reach and its platform. It's all sort of new. I remember the first year of the Big Bash was the first time that like domestic cricket was sort of on free to air TV, and like it only started that there was only going to be a handful of games televised, and then they rated really well. So each year, like more and more games are being televised, and I think it was this year every single game, whether it was on free to air or KO, was streamed. So yeah, it's only progressing in the right direction. So yeah, it's really good to see, and hopefully in like the next 5 to 10 years time, like we won't even be having this conversation because it'll just be like the AFL and the men's team, the men's Australians team, like it's just on TV and it's just no ifs or buts. So yeah, as I said, it's tracking in the right direction, and it's really cool that the Australian public's really jumping on board and getting around the girls, and a lot of the Australian women's players now are household names, which is a pretty special thing as well.
Yeah, I was trying to think back to sort of when I was growing up, what were the key names, and there was only like a handful that I really knew. Like Karen Rolton's obviously a big one, but sort of when you look at from when, say, I was at 10 to 12 to what 10 to 12-year-olds now, like there literally is so many cricketers that they can name that are household names.
Yeah, it is really cool, and it's like, and Cricket Australia do really well in showcasing the players' personalities as well. Like it's not just like their skill set, but they're doing a really good job in like showing all the different characters in the Australian team, and that's another way that like they can sort of connect with the public as well. So yeah, as I said, Cricket Australia are doing a really good job in that space in regards to making the games more visible, but allowing people to get to actually know the people that are in the Australian team and their character and their sort of their personality as well, which is also pretty important as well.
I got two more for you. The first one is, what's the best bit of advice you could give either a young girl or even a female adult coming through and playing cricket?
Oh, for me, it's just around the fun piece. Like, cricket can be pretty scathing at times in regards to performing and whatnot. But the most important thing is just to enjoy it with your mates and enjoy all the moments that you get, whether it's on the pitch or off the pitch. Like, I think it's just that sort of fun element, just to make sure if you're going to play and if you can, make sure you make every post similar and try to really enjoy it with your teammates as well.
Last one. It's a Friday night. You have a game tomorrow. You're at the Mynt Lounge. You've got 4 drink cards. So one's obviously for you. Who are you giving the other 3 to?
Oh, well, I have to be strategic here because I don't want the night to get big on me, right? Because I've got cricket the next day. So I'm probably,
The forecast does not look great.
I'm playing the rain card.
You can play the rain card if you want, as well as the drink cards.
Now we're talking. Dennis Rodman.
Okay.
We want this night to go big. Yeah, Dennis.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of like who would be some really good party pals, Well, I've got to return the favour and invite Katy to Mynt Lounge, don't I? Because like 100%. She invited me on stage at the MCG, so I've got to, return the favour. Like I
friends with Dennis
Katy.
Too.
Yeah, and she can have one free drink at Mynt, and then she can buy her own. And then who else am I giving the last drink card to? I've got to give it to one of my mentors in Mel Jones. We used to be next door neighbours in Footscray when I was in my former life as a Melburnian. Mm-hmm. And we used to hang out all the time and sort of venture out and enjoy the finer side of life. And now I really miss her because in Footscray and also
I might get cancelled for doing that, actually. I'm going to have to take that out.
Franco Cozzo. So Jonesy, because as I said, she used to be my partner in crime in Melbourne, and now she's moved to Sydney. I've moved to Tassie, and I don't see her enough. So I think we should reconvene and have a reunion at Mynt Lounge, and she can have the other free drink card.
There you go. Dennis Rodman, Katy Perry, and Mel Jones, and yourself at Mynt Lounge. At Mynt Lounge on a Friday night with the clouds rolling in and cricket unlikely on a Saturday.
Yeah.
that's not a foursome you'd want to walk into in Mint Lounge and see. But Molly, that was an absolutely incredible chat. You're a very, very funny human, and it is great to see what you've achieved in the game, and hopefully get to see you on stage at the next World Cup after we win again.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the chat.